डे ब्रेकअप सुन रहे हैं एवरी मंडे स्टॉक कंप्लायंस होता है विद टैली सॉल्यूशंस पावर ऑफ सिंप्लिसिटी लॉग ऑन कीजिए tallysolutions.com या you can always call them 800 tally.
You know, this is Talk Compliance like Vivek just said, and today we are going to be in chat with CA Rakesh Nair, Director Crowe UAE, and our topic of discussion would be around UAE corporate tax and robust economic growth ahead.
So Rakesh has more than 10 years of experience in corporate tax, international tax and transaction tax matters, catering to a number of industry verticals. He has significant experience working with several clients in the manufacturing, technology, infrastructure and healthcare sector. He has assisted several multinational companies in establishing a tax-efficient business presence and in implementing the tax-efficient cash repatriation techniques. He has extensive experience, both advisory and implementation, in restructuring mergers and acquisition of companies. बहुत interesting conversation होगा.
You know, this is going to be an extremely interesting conversation with Rakesh. So without further ado, let's welcome Rakesh in our studios.
Thank you, Tally, for recognizing me as a compliance maestro. And thank you, UAE government. You introduced corporate tax and I got a chance to be a part of compliance maestro and I'm part of 100.3 FM.
क्या बात है.
Thank you so much for taking time out. The first things first, I think we'll keep the question very light. What was the need for introducing the corporate tax in the UAE?
So corporate tax was always on card in the UAE. If you go to the IMF report of 2015, the revenue from oil sector comprised of 70 to 95% of the government revenue, and declining oil prices, there was a deteriorating fiscal balance and physical adjustments was needed. The government wanted another source of income which comes from a non-oil sector. So there was a need to have taxes in place because taxes are the major source of income for all countries globally. And as you would be aware that UAE is a signatory to OECD BEPS inclusive framework, and by signing the OECD BEPS inclusive framework along with other 140 countries, the UAE has provided its intention to align the tax with international tax practice, have tax transparency in place, and there would be exchange of information as well. And with BEPS Pillar 2 in line, if the UAE government does not introduce tax or they won't collect tax revenue from the subsidiary company, the holding company has the right to tax the profit of the subsidiary company. In a way, there will be a revenue leakage for the UAE government. So this was always in
the pipeline.
In the pipeline, yeah.
But अगर bullet points की बात करें, one is meeting the compliance required for OECD. And the other is
tax transparency.
Tax transparency. I think these two are the main bullet points. But the revenue part, it comes later, right?
No.
Why lose the revenue, basically, which the companies are anyways paying around the world?
The main point is to have an alternate source of income. If you have an alternate source of income, you can invest in infrastructure, you can develop your tourism, which ultimately will have benefit or have implications on the business.
Absolutely. So economic growth की बात करें, तो what impact will it have on UAE?
So as I said, if there is an alternate source of income, the government can invest in development of public infrastructure. They can develop their tourism, which ultimately will benefit the business. And if you see the UAE corporate tax law, there is a concept of small business relief. And this relief is provided to the entities whose turnover does not exceed AED 3 million. So this will encourage more startups into UAE, and there will be a movement of skilled laborers from other countries to the UAE. When a MNC invests in a country, what are the consideration? Tax is one of the consideration. If they are not sure about the tax laws in a country, they won't invest. With a competitive tax rate of 9%, coupled with a good infrastructure, a good strategic location, UAE will attract more and more FDI into the UAE.
Right. But when you're talking about 9% now, Rakesh, this is something I want to understand from you. Why did the UAE go with the figure 9% in comparison when the rest of the world is picking up 15% as a gift back to the country? So where did the 9% figure come from?
So 9% is the minimum tax which has to be levied on the company. If the UAE government would have gone for 7%, the balance 2% can be levied by the holding company. So 9% is the minimum tax which the UAE government has pronounced.
Same like 5%, for example, VAT. 5% bhi rakh sakte the UAE, but then because of this international guideline.
Correct.
So when you're talking about calculations, a lot of the business owners still haven't figured out calculations. So how is the corporate tax calculated on your profits?
See, before we discuss about the calculation, most of the sessions are on corporate tax. But more than corporate tax, what is important is your accounting. If the accounting profit is your starting point, if your accounting is not in place, proper accounting is not in place, there's no proper groupings, there's no proper subgroupings, then that will impact your corporate tax calculation. And the softwares like Tally will help in having a systematic accounting system in place. So until now, what I have seen is that the companies doesn't prepare the financials for the entity. They usually prepare division wise for management reporting and all. So if you use a proper software, accounting software, then you can generate the management report and simultaneously you can also comply with the law.
For the ones that are not, who haven't maintained their, books of accounts, how important is it for them to get onto this quickly?
So it's very important. This is a comparative year, assuming that most of the companies in the UAE follows Jan to December as their financial year. And so first taxable year would be Jan 1st 2024 to 31st December 2024. And the comparative year is Jan 1st 2023 to 31st December 2023. If you don't have a proper accounting system in place, if you are not arriving at a proper related party balances, then your entire calculation will go for the toss.
Right. And we will continue this conversation. And quickly, aapko Tally ke bare mein batate, if you're an entrepreneur and planning to visit the biggest tech show in Middle East, GITEX Global, you don't want to miss this. Now, Tally is back at the GITEX Global 2023 for the 9th year. This year, they're giving you the chance to bring a friend along with you. So go ahead, check out the GITEX contest on their Instagram handle. Tally Meena, ye Instagram handle hai, zarur jaiye. There are 60 passes to give away, so hurry and participate now. All you have to do is follow the simple steps. Like the contest post, follow Tally Meena, tag a friend to bring to the event in the comment section. Participate now as the entries close on 11th October, so there are 2 more days. And you can find Tally stand at GITEX Global Hall number 6, stand B30 from 16th to 20th October.
We are going to continue our conversation with Rakesh where corporate tax is concerned. You make sure you're sticking on to Talk 100.3.
Talk 100.3.
Daybreak, आप सुन रहे विवेक एंड म्यूरल आपके साथ एंड CA राकेश नायर हमारे साथ है. We are discussing about corporate tax and we started with basic questions.
Right, so today we're discussing about corporate tax and robust economic growth ahead. The question that we have for you, Rakesh, now is what is the mode of payment of corporate tax in the UAE?
There is no concept of estimated or advanced tax in the UAE. You have to file the return of income within 9 months from the end of your taxable period. You determine your self-assessment tax and you have to pay it along with the return of income. There is no other mode.
Right, and what are the incentives or exemptions provided under the corporate tax law? I mean, taking into consideration the peculiar aspect of the UAE economy.
So if you see for a free zone company, if they comply with the associated condition, they can enjoy the tax-free status. That is, they can avail the 0% tax for individuals who are not earning above 1 million AED, or they have income from real estate and they are not doing this business under a license. The individuals who are earning employment income or they are earning income from investment, they need not pay tax. They need not register for corporate tax.
Right. So has there been any fuss around the corporate tax law that has been issued? I mean, have people understood the concept of it, or are we still way far behind from it?
So, as a consultant, if you see, there are various awareness sessions which are being done by the professional bodies or professional forums. And yes, Tally being one of the sponsors for all this awareness session. And this has made the life of consultants very easy. We need not get into the basics. We can directly start discussing on the issues which our client faces. Like if there are no awareness sessions being conducted, if I directly discuss on the P or poem aspect, then there's a concern, right? The other person would not be able to correlate what exactly I'm discussing. So,
but Rakesh, I wanted to ask you this, that corporate tax, it is not easy for a business owner or for any other individual to understand the language of the law and implement that. It is not easy. Do we accept that fact?
It is not easy because under the law is sometimes interpretational base. Like the definition is not provided under the law. You have to understand the meaning, general meaning of the term. If the meaning is provided in any other law in the UAE, you have to borrow those definition. And what I understand is that people are not afraid to pay tax. The tax rate is not a concern. The concern is compliance. As the saying goes, tax se dar nahi lagta. Compliance से डर लगता है.
Nice. थप्पड़ से नहीं लगता.
Correct. Yes. So you have to comply with the VAT law. You have to comply with the ESR. You have to comply with corporate tax laws, and you have to maintain all the records for a period of 7 years. So people are now concerned, those who are not maintaining the records, how to maintain the records, whether to maintain in a soft copy or hard copy.
2023 अगर टाइमलाइन की बात करें, 2023 से शुरू हुआ ये लॉ, it started its implications, but 2022 का closing balance is what is also important, right?
See, if you have not maintained the books of accounts, yes, because
it starts from there, right?
Yes, it starts from there. If you have maintained the books of 2023, you can take the balances, you can carry forward the balance to the next year. If you have not maintained the proper books of accounts, then you will have to go back.
And that's a problem for most of the businesses, going and retracing your steps back. So in a given situation like that, what can businesses do and how can we ensure that, we've complied with the law? Because 2023, we are at the almost end of 2023. If 2022 matters, then how do we carry forward those kind of accounts?
See, you have to first, as I said, people are concentrating on tax, but the starting point of tax is your accounting profit. So have all the accounting in place, use proper software, do the due diligence for last 5 years or 6 years, so that you arrive at a proper balance which is carried forward to the taxable period. Your accounting system should be in place, have proper consultants, take guidance from your consultants, how you can have the system in place. This is a one-time cost, but yes, this will benefit going forward.
So 2.5 months and the year ends. Are we a little too late to be figuring out our balance sheets?
See, better late than never.
Because after 9 months is when you'll actually file the returns, and after 9 months, let's say September 2024 onwards, 2025 onwards, the implications will start, right?
The assessment will start. So you cannot start preparing in the year 2025, correct? You have to have all the system in place now.
Okay.
If you are late, start now.
So corporate tax, now we knew VAT was on the cards, but was corporate tax always slated to be entering the UAE markets?
Most of the countries were facing problems of tax because the profits were shifted from high tax jurisdiction to a low tax jurisdiction by using tax avoidance mechanism.
Okay.
And hence the OECD came up with OECD BEPS inclusive framework to address these concerns.
And also, one recent tweet I saw by Joe Biden, he mentioned that the billionaires of the world should be taxed 25%. We're also talking about global tax for these big companies as well. So the tax regime has really taken on, And corporate tax की अगर बात करें तो what do you think in the future is going to happen with corporate tax regime?
Now, since the UAE has a law in place, there is a BAR Act where the law is enumerated. Now, going forward, there will be a BEPS, like UAE will be implementing the BEPS Pillar 2. And
what is Pillar 2? Now, don't tell us 9% से 90% हो जाएगा.
No,
so 15%
yes, and it's not for all the companies. There is a threshold limit. If the M&E group, that is the total turnover of the M&E group, exceeds 750 million euro, then your tax rate will go up from 9 to 15%, and it will be very interesting to see the interplay between BEPS Pillar 2 and the UAE corporate tax law.
Right.
So is there a difference between your turnover and profits? And I think a lot of businesses get that wrong. So we are taxed on?
So we are taxed on the taxable profit. So your turnover is the gross revenue. You can claim expenditure as deductions. There would be certain additions as well. But what you arrive at is your taxable profit on which you pay tax at 9%.
Superb. So आपका एक P&L report वो अलग है and this is going to be separate.
Correct. So P&L report, as I said, P&L report, you will get the accounting profit. The accounting profit will be your starting point. There will be additions and disallowances of the expenditure or income which is provided under the Act, and you arrive at a taxable profit on which you pay 9% tax.
Superb. We'll continue this conversation. अगर आपके पास भी कोई सवाल है, you can send a WhatsApp 0586861003 and Instagram पे Tally Meena जरूर जाइए. कॉन्टेस्ट पोस्ट चल रहा है फॉर जाइटेक्स, जहाँ पे जाइटेक्स ग्लोबल 2023 के 60 passes है to give away. Like the contest post, follow Tally Meena, tag a friend to bring to the event. You can also visit them, hall number 6, stand B30 from 16th to 20th October.
Talk 100.3.
Welcome back to Daybreak with Vivek, Sanal and myself, Amirul Disa. And yes, this is Talk Compliance powered by Tally Solutions. We are in conversation with CA Rakesh Nair, Director, Crowe of UAE. We are talking today about corporate tax and the robust economic growth ahead. Now, moving on from our conversation, Rakesh, you spoke about how companies need to kind of stay compliant. What is the first things first they have to do if they don't have their books of accounts in place?
So have the books of accounts in place. First, shortlist a proper consultant.
I thought you would say contact me.
that was
put
your
everything
cue.
in line.
So that is implied, right? So something is implied which I need not speak.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
So have a proper consultant. Take the guidance.
Correct. Because you need the guidance is what I feel.
Correct.
Otherwise, the guidance...
There was no law in place. Corporate tax law was not in place in UAE. Okay. You have to take expertise of the people who have migrated from other countries.
Correct.
Where there was advanced stage. So they will guide you how to have the proper books of accounts. They will guide you what all documentation you have to maintain to substantiate or justify the expenditure.
Correct. So what exemptions are there? For example, books of account maintain नहीं करना है. Are there any category जहाँ पे exception है that you don't even need to maintain books of accounts? Because small business relief, you need a turnover of 3 million?
3 million. If your turnover is below 3 million, you can have the books of, you have to maintain the books of account, but you can use the cash basis to maintain the books of accounts.
Right. And when you're talking again about corporate tax, we keep talking about how important is it for your accountants to be on par with what's happening, or your CAs within the firm to understand. Now, is it the duty of a company to keep educating their staff members and to be educated themselves as well to ensure that everyone is staying compliant?
So it's very important for the accountant to gear up with the changing corporate tax environment. The benefits are multifold. Like once you comply with the law, there won't be any penalty. So due compliance of the law is very important. You can, the tax will help proper maintenance of documents, everything will help in having a proper books of accounts. You can keep the records in a proper way. And if you are having a company is undertaking mergers and acquisitions, then tax will be one of the main consideration. It will also impact the negotiation for insurance, whether to have the tax value also covered under the insurance. If the company, currently there is no withholding tax in the UAE, but going forward they might introduce the withholding tax as well, and this needs to be factored. Suppose if a company is entering into a contract with the vendor or customer for a longer duration, 5 years, then tax will play an important role, whether the company needs to bear the tax or whether the burden should be shifted to the customer or the supplier. So unless you are well versed with the law, or unless you gear up with the law, you won't be able to take such kind of decisions.
Now, very recent situation happened with one of our friend, real estate agent. Now, he was asked, his company was asked to pay a lot of VAT, or I think you have to charge VAT on commercial property sales as well. The buyer agrees, the seller agrees. If it is not agreed, the company who's facilitated the deal, they are the ones liable. And the FT actually called him, and he was levied a fine which was much more than the tax amount. And he was really amazed, and he didn't know what to do. I mean, he has to pay the fine. There is no way out.
Good point. This will also help in cash flow management for the company. Cash flow management
But he had
is very
no clue
important.
that he's supposed to pay VAT on that.
That's what. First is finalize a good consultant. Law is new. We are the people in UAE have never experienced the law. That is
We've never shelled
given-
money out of our
correct.
pockets, to be honest.
Right.
Kya?
We've never shelled money out of
Acha?
our pockets for the government.
For the government,
Yeah.
yes.
तो
So-
बाकी सारे जो एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन फीस है वो अपने नहीं भरे, वो अपने आप भर गए वो.
Okay, so let's put it this way. On an official term, I think the government is trying to lay down laws, and this is for the betterment. And we will discuss a little bit about this as to how this is going to help economically as well, right?
सुनते रहिए टॉक 100.3.
Talk 100.3.
Welcome back, and yes, we are in a conversation with CA Rakesh Nair, Director, Crowe UAE. We're talking to him about corporate tax and robust economic growth ahead, and he did mention about staying compliant. So moving forward now, what is the way forward for a lot of industries, especially for small-time businesses? How do they manage their book of accounts?
So they need, for a small business, they need not have a high-end software. Okay, they can have a software vendor who can provide them the basic. They can have the compliances in place. Like if they have a related party transactions that can be captured easily, the nomenclature of the expenditure would be proper. The narrations for each and every expenditure would be appropriate, so that they can prepare the financials which will help them in calculating appropriate taxes.
And all small businesses, I think, are on free zone. Now, offshore free zone companies, would they be taxable under UAE corporate tax law? And if yes, then how do they register for corporate tax purposes?
So technically, the offshore free zone will not be complying with the substance requirement, and hence they will have to cough up the 9% tax. And with respect to registration, one of the main document is the trade license. And for offshore free zone company, there's only certificate of incorporation. The law is still not clear how they will register. So this will be addressed in the due course. As of now, they won't be able to comply with the substance requirement, and as per the law currently, they will have to pay the 9% tax.
Okay.
You know, Rakesh, when you're talking about free zone and you're talking about mainland, now a lot of companies are doing the shuffle around. A lot of companies are trying to rework on their entire process. Could you talk to us, if a company is to open in mainland, what should they bear in mind? And if a company is making that shift to a free zone, what are those pointers that they need to bear in mind before making those, major shifts?
So if the existing mainland company is moving all the existing contracts to a free zone company just to avail the corporate tax advantage, that is to pay the 0%, they should be cautious because the law has general anti-abuse rules which can disregard the transaction and levy 9% tax. And there could be associated penalties and interest on the tax amount.
Are there
Superb.
any benefits if I stick around in mainland or free zones?
So it depends. See, if you are in a mainland and you have to pay 9% tax, if you are in a free zone and if you comply with all the conditions and you have substance, you are doing qualifying activities, then yes, there is a benefit.
0%
You can-
tax.
0% tax. But if you are not complying with the associated conditions, then you will have to pay 9% tax. You will have to comply with the free zone regulations, which will be an added compliance for the entities in free zone.
Super. We'll continue the conversation and quickly आपको बताते हैं कि JITEX Global 2023 tally is back for the 9th year, and this year they're giving you a chance to bring a friend along with you. So JITEX का contest हो रहा है on their Instagram handle TallyMeena. 60 passes to give away. You can participate, like the contest post, follow TallyMeena, tag a friend to bring to the event in the comments section. And you can find Tally stand at JITEX Global, hall number 6, stand B30 from 16th to 20th October. We'll continue the conversation. Stay tuned.
Talk 100.3.
Welcome back to Daybreak with Vivek Sanal and myself, Amirul Disa. Yes, this is Talk Compliance, powered by Tally Solutions, in conversation with CA Rakesh Nair. He's a director of Crowe UAE. Now, Rakesh, I want to understand this from you. Where corporate tax is concerned, is it critical? How critical is it for the UAE's finance community?
So, as we discussed earlier, the finance community needs to gear up with the developments in the corporate tax, because tax will have a consideration on your cash flow management. There are various considerations, like while entering into a transaction where the agreements are made for multiple years, like the agreement will be for 3 or 4 years, then whether to shift the tax to the supplier vendor or whether the implication of the tax will be borne by the company, all these things needs to be taken care. And if the company is into mergers and acquisitions, then tax has a separate role. Going forward, when you do a due diligence, then you will have to due diligence for the tax records, like company has complied with all the compliances under the law, whether there are any POEM implications, because if there is a POEM implication, like the subsidiary of the company is being entirely managed from the UAE, then the overseas subsidiary can create a deemed residency in the UAE, and they will have to comply with the provisions of the law as same as a resident. Like they will have to pay tax on the global profit. So everything needs to be considered, and for that the finance community needs to gear up for the corporate tax.
Correct. You know, Rakesh, individuals run businesses already. Now, complying, and they've already complied with the VAT registration requirements, right? So moving forward, where CT is concerned or corporate tax is concerned, does those requirements change? Because if they're already complied, I mean, how similar is it to corporate tax?
So from a corporate tax perspective, if the individual is doing business or business activity and is earning income exceeding 1 million AED, then they will have to register themselves. They will have to pay tax by filing return of income, and they will also have to maintain the books of accounts. So VAT is one compliance they do, and going forward, if they breach the threshold, then they will have to comply with the provisions of corporate tax as well.
You know, you see a lot of these businesses shifting base to Dubai. Dubai is becoming the hub, and today also in one of the news we were reading that greenfield businesses have come more in Dubai. So how is this an added benefit for them where corporate tax is concerned?
So let me explain what is greenfield and brownfield. Greenfield means a new MNC coming into UAE, and brownfield is when you acquire an existing company in the UAE.
Okay.
So if a company, a MNC shifting their operations to the UAE, from a tax standpoint, they will have to pay only 9% on the taxable profit. When you compare this tax rate with India, UK, US, Canada, it's very less. Like there, you have to pay tax at a rate more than 20%. In India, you would be paying tax at 34 or 25, 27%. And compared to that, in UAE, you pay only 9% on your taxable profit. So
but the factors like in the cost of doing business also must be considered, right, Rakesh? The cost of doing business in India is comparatively much more, possible, I think, compared to here. When we compare only tax rate, I think it's not a fair comparison, is what I feel.
If you see the purchase parity principle, your major cost would be on the salary
and the business license and
so business license visa is a one-time cost.
Every year you need to renew.
But it's a one-time cost. You don't incur month on month.
Correct.
It's a one-time cost. Right. And if I'm selling a product in India, the cost of the product, the sale price of the product will differ.
Correct.
If you sell the same product in the UAE,
right.
So your associated cost is taken care by the increase in the sales price in the UAE. Whereas from a tax perspective, you are just paying 9% vis-a-vis 27% or 34% in other countries.
But the 9% is on the taxable profit, right? And the profit that you earn in different jurisdictions, of course, has different factored in requirements or conditions, right? We will continue the conversation as of now. And quickly, आपको हम बताते हैं, you can visit Tally stand at Jitex Global, hall number 6, stand B30 from 16th to 20th October. You can always go to Tally Meena Instagram handle and you can win passes to attend Jitex Global 2023. But like the contest post, follow Tally Meena, tag a friend to bring to the event in the comment section. Stay tuned.
Talk 100.3.
We are in conversation with CA Rakesh Nair and we have reached the end of our show, Rakesh. But I need to ask you a few things where penalties are concerned. So what are the stiff penalties that will be imposed if people are not complied by the law?
So there are various penalties which have been provided under the UAE corporate tax. For each non-compliances, there are separate penalties. So recently there was a decision wherein they have mentioned all the penalties, like there could be a possibility that the tax officer may ask for the record in Arabic, and if you don't provide those record in Arabic, you will be levied 85,000 as a penalty.
क्या कह रहे हो राकेश? आपने तो सरप्राइज दे दी.
So for each and every non-compliance, there are penalties.
Wow. But this being something that people need to comply with was never brought to our notice.
Yeah, but
so where did this?
So this was by way of a recent decision.
Okay. See, and Arabic language, where you have to keep the records.
No, there's no compulsion to keep the records in Arabic. As far as tax records are concerned, you can keep it in English or Arabic. But if the tax authority seeks documents in Arabic language, then you will have to mandatorily provide it, or you will have to pay the penalty.
Super.
Well, thank you so very much for taking time out, coming to our studios and literally bowling us over with that last line that you just said.
Bouncer tha wo.
Pleasure is mine.
Thank you, Rakesh. See you soon.
With Vivek Sanil and Muriel Desar, Talk 100.3.